it's just weird because, as you said, as the taxpayers, they don't tell us, blah, blah, blah. I agree with you. There's a lot of stuff that they aren't telling us. And some of that stuff may be justifiably so. I don't know. I'm not in the business of fighting and killing, so maybe there is some reasoning behind some of it. I don't know. But it prompts the question of, why would they fess up to this one? Because the immediate thought is like, oh, people are panicking over the videos, so we need to fess up so that people stop panicking. But I mean, to fess up and say, yeah, that's what you think it is. Good luck. It's like,
yeah.
What possibly could be the motivation behind that? And this one, I'm not necessarily throwing directly at you, William. This is kind of a roundtable question because it's totally speculative, but I don't know. What do we think the motivations are behind that? I'll start with you, William, but Kara, I'm going to want to know what you think it is next.
I've discussed it at length. It was about a few months after the initial leak happened. And we really didn't know who specifically released them. We found out it was a leak, and later on, now the Pentagon's released it. But I spoke with a few researchers about it, friends that I hold in high regard, and they were wondering if an event transpired. Something happened that the public is not privy to, is unaware of, that would have precipitated a change in the way they do things. That's a possibility. I mean, certainly. But beyond that, the content of the videos, to me, is not really groundbreaking. They're still unidentified. Right. And, of course, likely they are either military apparatus or something along those lines. The likelihood of them being actually alien constructs is low, like everything else in this field. But it's a possibility. But the why is usually not asked. And I tend to think something precipitated a change, which that may not mean it was an event. Another way to look at it is this: the government/military really doesn't do anything to release stuff to the public unless it's advantageous for them to do so.
Yes.
There's something to be gained. Yeah, especially if you're in the government. And politicians don't do anything if they have to pay a price. Right. They only make moves if it's something to be gained from them on a personal or political level. So, but the why question is interesting, and I think it's not been asked enough. So,
I see.
What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe the cause of this isn't that the military is being less rational than we assume. Like, I think we always think of the military as very sober-minded, very, transactional, very results-oriented, and I think they are, but the military as an institution also has a history of monkeying about with some pretty strange ideas, remote viewing, but they try a lot of stuff, right? And they, a lot of times, especially when it comes to like PSYOP stuff, they're sort of throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks. So my thought seeing this was maybe this is part of some complicated scheme to manipulate the public or foreign governments that is actually probably too complicated to actually work, but it sounded good in a boardroom. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe the government is trying something and it doesn't make sense to us because it's actually not a good idea.
Right.
But they're doing it anyway because that's kind of what they do.
Yeah, putting the two of what you guys are saying together, I hadn't really thought of what William said, and putting it together with what you say, it actually kind of seems like potentially the same thing, and that is that like some sort of event occurred and they jumped the gun trying to get out in front of it. Is kind of a possibility, like, hey, or spinning off of what Kara just said, maybe in a world where arguably private sector technology in certain areas is arguably beyond some of the government stuff, or they wouldn't be going after big tech companies like Google to help with data and stuff like that. Maybe the idea is if we can get this anecdotal sort of evidence out there, we can collect more or get more insight from. If we add a little bit of credibility to this, maybe we can get other things with credibility to come forward with some information that they have. But
that's a strong possibility, because the UFO topic in general suffers from a lack of credibility.
Right.
It's viewed as a pseudoscience. You have an image of this tinfoil hat pseudoscientist walking around dressed as an alien investigating UFOs. It's not respected by the fellow scientists. And I get that, and that's our own fault, the way researchers conduct themselves, and the UFO community in general. And that term may not really be applicable here, but and the other thing that's interesting is that the public is easily misled. We're inundated with data. We're inundated with links and stories from all these sources, a lot of which is just fake misinformation or disinformation. But people are easily distracted. So this could be just window dressing to get our eye off the ball. Because I know a lot of researchers in this field are focused on this problem, and it gets our eye off the actual target, which is, what are these things? What's in our skies? Are they extraterrestrial? Are they not? What's the explanation? And all this window dressing we lose our focus as a result of it. So I rarely discuss this on my blog page or my group, if at all, because it kind of distracts to a point. It should be addressed, certainly, but it's like trying to find out who kidnapped a young woman, but trying to figure out what he's wearing. It's not really pertinent to the case. It can distract you. And this is kind of it. We have these videos. We want to know why. These are all important issues, but it kind of can distract us from the idea of, or the concept of, okay, where the videos came from is interesting, and these questions need to be asked. But the most important one is, what's on the video? What is that line in the sky that our own pilots couldn't identify?